Obi Malope here from South Africa. I'm sitting here at Optometrist, one of the most amazing eye care providers in South Africa, headed by Nanda Glover. And I'm sitting in the diagnostic room. You can't see it where you are right now, but there's a whole bunch of equipment here, diagnostic equipment for the different procedures that they perform for our wonderful patients. Even behind the camera, there's more equipment that they utilize in the practice. And I've been spending the whole morning here basically today and just observing the wonderful work that they're doing. And something just came to mind in terms of the role that we play as eye care providers in the respective communities where our practices are located in. And just a few things came to mind just before I did this video. Is one, when patients come into our examination room, a lot of the times, or let me say not even patients, people, when they come into our examination room or to the practice, they've got a lot of misconception about if I go to the optometrist, I'm going to go get given a pair of spectacles whether or not I need them or not. There's a lot of young people that their parents don't bring to the optometrist because they believe that the optometrist is purely just going to give them that pair of spectacles whether they need it or not. You know, there's a lot of misconception. Sometimes people will say things like, before I used to wear glasses, this is how I would see. Now that I've been wearing my glasses, every time I put them off or I take them off, I can't see the things that I used to see. The list goes on of all these different misconceptions that people have, or let me not even say misconceptions, perceptions or experiences that they get. Our role as eye care providers is to ensure that not only us as the optometrists, but the entire team within the practice is able to communicate effectively with our respective patients, customers, clients. The minute someone comes into the practice, the team needs to make them feel like they made the right decision in walking into this practice. They could have gone anywhere else, but they chose your particular practice. So the question that you guys need to think about is, when people think about getting their eyes examined, why should my practice come to their mind? And so when people arrive at the practice, how your team makes them feel from the minute that they get to the practice plays a big role in setting the tone in what will happen the rest of the time. How the staff or the team communicates with the people, how they connect with them, how they provide them with information, how they provide them with direction in terms of, this is why you are here, this is the procedures that we're going to be following, this is the processes that we're going to be following, this is the type of questions that we're going to be asking you, this is the type of diagnostic procedures that the optometrist will be performing depending on your eye problem, and the outcomes that could be expected could be this or that. But all of that is basically around, we ask you questions, we perform a whole lot of diagnostic or preliminary examination procedures, we ask you questions, we perform a whole lot of diagnostic related procedures and come up with a diagnosis that will involve various management solutions that will be specific to your eye problem. We check the health of your eye. And at the end of that procedure or that process, we would be in a position to say, this is what's wrong with you, this is why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and this is what is available in us managing it so that your visual experience going forward could be as follows. So communication plays a pivotal role in that patient-doctor relationship. So even when you're in the diagnostic room, utilizing all this wonderful equipment that you might have in your practice, you might not even have the latest diagnostic equipment in your practice, but what you have at your disposal is the ability to communicate effectively, efficiently with each and every single person that you put on that examination chair. And that communication process starts the minute someone walks into your practice. So just keep that at the back of your mind in terms of, is my team communicating effectively, efficiently efficiently in a manner in which you're winning the patient over. You're establishing that trust relationship. Patients are thinking, even if that person has been wearing glasses for a very, very long time, they're thinking to themselves, in the 10 years that I've been wearing glasses, I've never had a team that takes the time to explain things the way you're explaining things. I've never had an optometrist performing examination procedures with so much detail. I've never had a practice being concerned with my overall care and not just being quick to give me a pair of glasses. So these are things that patients are thinking about experiencing when they have to practice. You don't want to find yourself in a situation whereby what happens with the eye doctor in the examination room is of a different standard and quality to what happens in the front office of the practice. We want there to be synergy between what happens at staff level versus what happens at doctor level. The same level of excellence that you do in the examination room or the diagnostic room should be the same level of standard and care that your team does. So as an optometrist, you need to make sure that you are constantly training your team, communicating with your team, demonstrating to the team, showing them the journey or the process of a patient from the time they come to the practice, goes through the different areas in the practice or the different procedures that you do, so that when they are communicating with patients, they have an awareness of why certain equipment is used, what's the purpose of the equipment, what information you get from the different types of equipment. So spend time training your team in what you do, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and what are you busy saying to the patient in the examination room or in the diagnostic room that they need to be aware of. Because patients have this thing of trusting the eye doctor, but not trusting the staff member. But the person that they see the most is the optical team, not necessarily the optometrist. So you want to not only inspire trust between yourself and the patient as the eye doctor, but you want to ensure that your team also has the trust of the patient. And so constantly educate your team, constantly demonstrate to your team what you do, and be an inclusive type of leader in how you manage the different patients. There are certain areas where patients are going to be picking up on the small nuances that may exist in terms of how you're doing that handover of the file from yourself to them, how you're asking them questions, how you're introducing yourself, all those small little things, how you're asking your staff member for something, plays a role in when that staff member or that patient is looking at the doctor-team relationship or interaction, they make certain conclusions around it. So when was the last time you actually sat with your team and discussed the eye care related procedures, the processes that you employ within the diagnostic room, the order of testing, all of that type of stuff? Because you want your team to have confidence when they're communicating with your patients, right? So if you're not playing a role in instilling that confidence, and you can only do that by giving them the necessary information, assessing whether or not they have that type of information that you want them to have. So where do you start? You might be like, I don't have time for training, I don't have time for educating my team, so much happens in the course of the day. Here's how you need to be thinking about it. If you don't have the buy-in of the team in whatever that you do, the impact of that will be felt in when they are dealing with the patient. So if you don't prioritize the urgency of you having the buy-in of your team, you're limiting the growth potential of your optometric practice. You can have all this fancy equipment, you can be a very competent optometrist, but if the information or the interaction or the communication did not start right with the staff and the patient, You then make it right, but then when the patient goes back to deal with the staff member, it goes back to it not being right. And because the team does not have or does not believe in what you're doing, you don't have the buy-in of the team, you're limiting the growth opportunity that might exist in your practice. So when you start, one, we look at it as having a 5-week training program that you constantly repeat. So week 1 would be talking about the purpose, the reason why the business exists, your why as a leader. How did you get up into being in optometry? What you're most passionate about, why you do what you do, what is it that you want patients to experience when they come to your practice, what role the practice is playing in society and so forth. So every time you talk about the purpose of the business, you unpacking the why in as much detail as you possibly can. You want to get to a level where your vision is the aspiration of the team. That's like a goal that you need to be having. Week 2, it's all about the people. You now are focusing on their potential, their abilities, not necessarily for the practice, but you are using week 2 to equip your team, to learn about each other's cultures, backgrounds, skills. You want to invest in what sets them alive, what makes you guys gel as a team, what makes you guys apart as a team, what makes this one mad, what makes this one glad, what makes this one sad. You might be in a practice where you're speaking different languages, or you come from different backgrounds. So week 2, it's more about each other as a team. You're learning about one another. So the training that you're doing in that week 2, it's focused on that. And then week 3, it's all about the processes that are employed by the business, all the different types of processes. And what we mean by processes is the standard operating procedures that the practice thrives on. And if excellence is not the only acceptable solution in the practice in terms of the processes, then what's the point of everything else? So you need to get to a point where you ask yourself as a business, guys, in this area, in this service offering, in this activity, what is the standard of excellence in each and every single component of the business? And you're training on that. It has to be measurable, and it always has to be something like, would you accept the service that you are getting, or that you are receiving, or that you are giving, if it had to be done to you in the exact same manner that you are doing it? So week 3, it's all about the processes that impact service delivery. Remember, service delivery forms the foundational basis of sales in your business. When service delivery goes up, sales go up. If service delivery goes down, sales will go down. So your processes, if it doesn't make it easy for the patient to do business with you guys, to get your services, your products and everything, you are limiting the growth potential of your business. So it's all about everything that you do when it comes to your processes. How does it influence the patient experience that they're going to be receiving from your business? So you have to be super focused on the experience that patients are going to be experiencing when they get to your practice from start to finish. And remember, the post-service rendering or the post-product selling, once you've already provided that pair of spectacles to the patient, how the first-time wearer of spectacles experiences your business will be different from how the second-time visitor, the third-time visitor to your practice experiences that. So the after-service call, the after-service experience is just as important as the pre-service experience. So your processes is what you focus on week 3. Week 4, it's then about the products. Product training. If you've got different types of products, each week focus on one particular type of product. If there is no confidence in your team with the products that they are having, it's going to limit how they're communicating with the different types of patients. The dispenser is not present, the optometrist is busy, and your patients are asking questions from your team about various types of products. So there's a baseline standard of information that each and every single one of your team members needs to be aware of when they're dealing with patients. So product knowledge is a vital component of business success, whether it be from the side of the contact lenses, the frames, the lenses, the different types of combination products, why this problem goes with this solution. So always think about the perspective of a patient when they're sitting across your staff member and they are asking your staff member a question. What type of questions would patients normally ask on a day-to-day basis? Medical aid related questions, right? When it has to do with product that they need to solve the problem that they have. So when, let's say for example, the patient came in, had their eyes examined, you recommended 2 pairs of multifocals and daily pair of contact lenses with 2 pairs of sunglasses as well. And now the medical aid is not going to be able to cover all of that. And you are now not there, and patient is now communicating with your team in terms of what the medical aid will pay for versus what the balance is. And now there's a possibility, huge possibility, that the patient is not going to go with what you're recommending. When it comes to the product knowledge, if your team is not trained or well efficient, we put it that way, if they're not well versed or well trained when it comes to looking at the value that a person is going to get when they go with what you're recommending versus the disadvantages if they don't go with what you're recommending. So if the clinical requirements are this, but the medical insurance, medical benefits are this, and now there's a downgrade that needs to take place, how do patients get that information from the staff? So product knowledge has got many elements to it where they need to know how do they communicate the product during those type of communication. When patients just come in, walking by your practice could be in a shopping center, it could be anywhere basically, and patients are just popping in, asking questions. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? And the dispenser or the optometrist is not present. Your team still needs to know what to say to patients. And so product training on week 4, very vital. And then week 5, it's all about sales, looking at the revenue generating activities, all about sales, the sales journey of a patient, the first time visitor, the sales journey of the second time visitor, the sales journey of a client who's been with you for years, the sales journey of a high incoming earning individual who is coming to your practice for the very first time versus the one who's coming to your practice for the second time and the third time and so forth. Sales when it comes to the different buying groups, sales when it comes to the consumer purchasing decisions that influence consumer behavior in the practice, sales when it comes to different cultures, different ethnic background, different religious groups. So you need to know sales scripts of each and every one of those so that whatever that you're doing does not sound like a sales pitch when you're communicating with your patient. So all the different activities, how are they influencing the revenue at the end of the day, the bottom line at the end of the day. So that's a 5-week program. That's where you get started. After that 5 week, you repeat it. Go back to week 1, then week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Repeat it again. How often should you be doing training? Once a week. 1 regular trainings, and then once a quarter, you do 1 big training. You can have an external person come in to come and facilitate training in your practice, but it has to be something that you do on a regular basis and rotate to the roles. So this month, or this topic, or this particular training focus can be facilitated by one of your team members whom you've equipped and so forth. Remember, with your team, there's the training stage, there's the support stage, and then there's the growth stage. This is a topic for another day, but the different components of stage or different stages of how you need to be interacting with your different people comes into play here, so that you are not the only one who, as the owner of the business, as the optometrist, facilitating the training. You want to make sure that every time there's training, you are equipping your people. Create a folder where your team is involved, and that's where you start if you're currently not doing training. I must say, all of this that I'm saying, it's been inspired by Norcom optometrists. The level of eye care that I've seen being given here week in, week out is literally absolutely inspiring. And guys, we play a critical role in society, in our communities. Don't do anything as a by the way. Every time you provide services, make sure that every single person in the team is fully aware of the difference that we are making. Don't do anything as a by the way. Be intentional with each and every single patient. Make sure that the patient experience is super, super, super awesome. And the biggest thing that you would ever get is when patients talk about your business. So when they're talking about your business, what is it that you want them to be talking about? That leads to what, why, and how often they'll be referring people to your business. You could have the best marketing strategy, the best online or digital presence, but if your processes here, your team here at the practice is not at the point at which it gives patients the best patient experience, you're limiting the growth potential of your business. And there is nothing better when it comes to marketing than word of mouth, especially in this type of business that has to do with people's vision. Because imagine someone saying, you know what, I've been wearing glasses for a very long time, but I went to this practice, and my oh my, the experience that I got there has been something that I've never experienced before. They did this, they did this, they did that, they said this to me, they communicated like this with me, and at the end of the day, this is how my vision is compared to how it was before. Or someone who comes to your practice for the very first time and they're like, no, I've always had misconceptions about getting my eyes tested, but I went to this practice and my oh my, this is how I experienced the whole thing. So put yourself in the shoes of the patient. If you are a patient elsewhere, if you are a consumer elsewhere, how do you want services to be rendered to you? That's exactly how patients think about the services that they get from your business when they come to you for all their visual related concerns or needs. So just think about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that short training. I guess it was not that short since we're still going on, but don't do anything as a by the way. That's all I wanted to say to you, and just remember why you started going into eye care, and don't lose focus of that why. That should be the one that keeps you going, keeping you focused on the value that you are adding to your community. Take care, everyone. Make sure to connect with us on the different social media platforms. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do connect with us on our website, and for any information, do drop us an email. We'd love to come to your business to help you strategize, plan, get your practice operating at the level it deserves